Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I want to talk to you about two things primarily in this video: Lebanon and Gaza. I'm going to start off with Gaza. In Gaza, we had an unprecedented day of attacks against the Israeli forces. I can safely say I haven't seen such intensity from the resistance against the Israeli occupation forces ever since the beginning of this genocide. In terms of quantity and in terms of diversification, we had 6 different resistance groups attacking Israel today, which is unprecedented since the beginning of this war. We'll start off with Al-Quds Brigade, Saraya Al-Quds, which is the armed wing of the PIJ. They said they bombed with heavy caliber mortar shells the military concentrations and infiltrating vehicles in the vicinity of the Rafah crossing. They also said they bombed with a barrage of regular mortar shells a foot force in the Jabalia camp in the north of Gaza Strip, leaving the forces dead and wounded. They also added they bombarded with a barrage of 60 caliber regular mortar shells a gathering of vehicles in Block 2 of the Jabalia camp. They also bombed a barrage of regular 60 caliber mortar shells in the military concentrations in the vicinity of Mazaya that was also in Jabalia camp. They also targeted a Merkava with a tandem that was east of Jabalia, and they also added that they detonated a lightning device or a thunder bomb in a Merkava next to the Abu Zaytun area, also in Jabalia. We had another resistance group called the Mujahideen Brigades. They clashed with ground force, foot force from the occupation behind Abu Zaytun school in Jabalia, killing and wounding members of the force. We had today a new resistance movement. I mean, we haven't seen many activities from them previously, but they're called the Forces of the Martyr Omar al-Qasim. They belong to the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine. The Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine is a leftist movement, and as with all of the resistance movements, you had the leaders and people who founded these movements. Most of them are people who have been victims of the ethnic cleansing campaign, who had many of their family members martyred, who were expelled from their homes, and many of them witnessed massacres during their younger ages. They said that they detonated an explosive device in a troop carrier in the Brazil neighborhood, and they engaged in a clash with soldiers on George Street east of Rafah. Then we go to Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades, obviously the armed wing of the Fatah movement. That is obviously a nationalist movement. They said they sniped a Zionist soldier east of Jabalia in the northern part of Gaza Strip, obviously, and they also targeted the position of the Israeli forces with mortars east of Jabalia. Then we go to Abu Ali Mustafa Brigades. Abu Ali Mustafa Brigades are the armed wing of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, a socialist leftist movement. They had an operation in conjunction with Al-Qassam Brigades, the armed wing of Hamas, targeting and infiltrating Zionist vehicle near Abu Sultan junction in the Jabalia camp. They also targeted forces in the Karm Abu Salim with a missile. And I'll end up in Gaza, and I'm sorry for taking too much of your time, but it's a long list. Like so I said, it's an unprecedented day really, with so many attacks. Al-Qassam Brigades had the most attacks on Israeli forces, carrying on from yesterday. They targeted a D9 military bulldozer with a Yasin 105 in the Abu Zaytun area, that's in Jabalia. They also targeted or destroyed a howitzer artillery position in the northeastern Gaza Strip with heavy caliber mortar shells. They sniped a soldier in the city of Jabalia in Gaza. He was hit directly. They targeted a Merkava tank with a Yasin 105, killing and wounding everyone inside it. After targeting the tank, they eliminated 7 soldiers who were behind it from 0 distance, hinting on a direct clash with them immediately after they took down the tank. They also targeted another Merkava with Yasin 105 northeast of Jabalia. They destroyed Israeli vehicles penetrating east of Jabalia with mortar shells. They also seized an occupation army drone that was carrying out an intelligence mission in Jabalia, again in North Gaza, and their final attack was taking down a house that was booby-trapped with a special IDF force inside it, killing and wounding all of its members. That was east of Rafah. That's carrying on from yesterday. By the way, yesterday they targeted a combination of 18 Israeli occupation vehicles, including 3 personnel carriers, 13 tanks, and 2 D9 bulldozers. And Israel is admitting to approximately 20 Israeli soldiers wounded, which is a completely unrealistic number with the levels of attacks that we had from the resistance. Today, many of them were authenticated and verified. You're talking about hundreds of Israeli casualties. With regards to Israel, obviously, they're committing genocide. That's what they're about. Nothing to do with the resistance. Otherwise, how can the resistance be so fierce? In Gaza, the authorities in Gaza, the health ministry in Gaza, said they had over 80 civilian martyrs in the past 24 hours. And there was an interesting statement from the World Health Organization, because many people obviously cast doubt on whatever the authorities in Gaza say, saying that there is no error with the numbers of casualties when it comes to the Gaza Strip, and the numbers are accurate. That's for anyone doubting the level of casualties in Gaza. I know I spoke a lot, but we need to end it up with Lebanon. The Islamic resistance, Hizbullah in Lebanon, they obviously had their attacks in the northern part of Israel on Israeli forces. They targeted the headquarters of the 801st Brigade in Ma'aleh Golani barracks with missiles. They also targeted buildings used by enemy soldiers in the Avivim colony. They also targeted the Avivim settlements, and they also targeted a building used by Israelis in Al-Malikiya. One of their most significant acts today was targeting a control management center with a spy balloon that Israel had raised over the Admit settlement. Again, a very intense day, especially coming from Gaza, and it doesn't look like the resistance is going anywhere. As a matter of fact, this has been the most intense day in Gaza when it comes to the Palestinian resistance and the number of Palestinian resistance groups fighting against the Israeli occupation, battling the genocide forces in Gaza. Again, a combination of 6 armed wings of groups, diversified really, with a more Islamic background, leftist background, socialist background, and nationalist backgrounds, different types of ideologies, but they're all sharing the same view when it comes to the resistance and them targeting the Israeli forces in Gaza, committing a genocide against the Palestinian people. And these were the main things that I want to talk to you about today, and I will see you soon in the next video. Take care.